Hello, everyone. So I'd like to start by asking you a couple of questions. So when I ask you the question, I would like you to notice what happens in your body to your heart rate when you answer the question. What do you want to be when you grow up? So take a moment, and if you're already grown up, are you being what you thought you were going to be? And the next question I want to ask is, raise your hand if you felt any stress when that question and answer was coming through you. Raise your hand if you noticed any stress. Okay, we have some students who felt it. Raise your hand if the idea of what you want to be is not totally yours. Okay. Good. Thank you for the honesty. Raise your hand if you have so many passions, so many dreams, so many things excite you that it's really hard when people ask you to choose one. Wow. Okay, this truly is the next generation. So many people. So when I was preparing this talk and I was thinking about the youth, sorry for the adults, I thought to myself, what would have really been helpful for me to hear when I was your age, as a teenager? And what I really wish somebody had told me is that I don't have to figure it all out. That what I really need to do is figure out what my voice is and honor it and follow the joy, not the pressure. So when I was a little girl, if you asked me what I wanted to be when I still believed in unicorns, and now I believe in unicorns again, I wanted to be a stand-up comedian. I wanted to be on the TEDx stage, check. I wanted to be a Bollywood actress. I wanted my own fashion line, and I wanted to be a doctor. But only one of those were fully approved by family and teachers. Who can guess which one made the doctor? That's right. The doctor was what everyone was encouraging me to be. They were like, wonderful, sweetie, you can have those as hobbies, but let's focus on the doctor part, okay? I was told that in order to be successful, I need to focus on one thing and to stay committed. And being a jack of all and master of none would lead me nowhere. Subtext, you're not going to be that rich. We won't be able to show off about you with our family and friends. So pick a profession that everybody knows is a real profession. Become a lawyer, become a doctor, become an engineer, become a teacher, do something respectable. Yeah? I can see some of you smiling in the audience. So I did what I was told. I went to law school in the UK. It was a professional degree. It guaranteed me some amount of good income when I graduated, and I hated it. I don't even know how I got through it. I finished the degree. I hated every minute of it because, you know, it didn't look like the TV show that I thought it was going to look like. I wasn't wearing a beautiful suit, standing in a courtroom looking fabulous. I was reading endless amount of paper, something I don't like to do. And then I went to graduate school and I became a psychologist. I was getting a bit closer to what I really wanted to do, but most of the graduate school of becoming a therapist was actually for my own healing. And then I finished. I had 2 degrees. I was living in Chicago. I was working. But that's how I was feeling. So all the things that I had done that everybody told me would guarantee me happiness, make me feel like a success, did the exact opposite. I never felt like I had accomplished enough. I wasn't successful enough. I compared myself to my banker friends who were living in New York City, climbing the ladder, getting bonuses. I was working at a domestic violence shelter as a psychologist, so the money wasn't coming in. It was a respectable job, but I was depressed. And the reason was because I didn't really hear the small, still voice that was inside me. I listened And there's nothing wrong with listening to mentors. I have mentors now as well, or your parents. So I don't want the parents to kill me after the TED Talk. There's nothing wrong with it. But what I feel like I didn't get encouraged to do was also really take in and listen to myself. And I'm a parent of 3 children, and I'll tell you that parents sometimes are driven by fear. We're worried that our children will be homeless and live with us for the rest of their lives. So we want them to become doctors so they can pay their own bills. But the truth is, what if we believed that the universe was actually backing us up, and that if we followed the joy, something incredible would happen? So for me, something incredible happened, and even when I was 40, I was doing stuff, but I still didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up, and I'm 47 now. Until I heard a talk by Elizabeth Gilbert, who you might know, who wrote the book Eat, Pray, Love. She was in Australia giving a talk, and she gave her talk about follow your passion. She knew since she was 3 years old that she wanted to be a writer. And when she got back from her talk, feeling quite good about herself, a woman from the audience wrote to her and said, you know, I was really looking forward to hearing you talk. I thought I would be inspired. But instead, I feel worse than when I came to hear you speak. Because I don't have a singular passion. And I don't have one thing that sets me on fire. And Elizabeth Gilbert said she reflected on that. And she realized that most people in the world have many gifts and passions. And in fact, the people she admires and respects the most have led the most colorful, adventurous life, made lots of mistakes, and discovered and impacted many people as a result of it. And she called these people the hummingbirds. And it was in that moment, at the ripe old age of 42, that I finally let go of the shame that I carried, that I hadn't succeeded in my life. That because I had pursued 10 careers in one lifetime, that I didn't create the impact. I finally acknowledged that I was a hummingbird. And it was everything I did, I gave it 100%, and I created impact and change in people's lives. And then I moved on to the next thing that set me on fire. And to celebrate that, I got a tattoo so that I would never forget that that shame had dissolved forever. Just a reminder, my tattoo was at the age of 42, so I'm not promoting all of you to go get a tattoo. It was a very significant reclaiming of my life. And there are 2 things that I lead myself with, and one is there's no such thing as a mistake. What if that was truly your belief? How much would you try in your life? If you really believe that everything was just the next flower that you could receive some nectar from. The second thing that I like to lead with is nothing is happening to me, everything is happening for me. And what this does is gets me to stop blaming my mother for sending me to law school, for blaming my teachers. It helps me take responsibility to really slow down and understand that the universe is always for me if I stop and listen to my own voice. So, as a result, I am now clowning for a cause in Beijing. I dress up once a month with a bunch of volunteers. I get to act silly, dress up, do breath work with children with leukemia, and have a really good time. And what I value as success now is connection and impact. And I get to create that. And as a result, I have pretty much lived all those careers that that little girl wanted to live. So I'm going to leave you with a question. And perhaps you know, or you don't know, living in China, that bamboos actually, for 5 years when they're growing underground, nobody can see any sign of their growth. And then one day, they pop up. So for those 5 years, they're connecting a network. They're really figuring out who they're going to be when they pop, much like a lot of you. So I'm going to leave you with this question. What is the internal foundation that you are laying for yourself, for your future? Are you really exploring your inner landscape? Are you finding ways to practice hearing that small, still voice that lives within each of you? And it turns out that the quote that traumatized me my whole life has a second half to it. A jack of all trades is a master of none, but oftentimes better than a master of one. William Shakespeare. Thank you.